This is the Swarm and Shoot Football Show, episode number 21, with me, Manny Matsakis, the head football coach at Defiance College, and Lynn Groll, the publisher of the Black Swamp Football Preview magazine. We feature Defiance College football and everything that influences our program. This show is brought to you by our friends at Big B Coffee. And once again, we have Lynn. Vanilla lattes
and the festive.
Oh, it is the festive cup here.
Yeah,
nice red, little stars on it, little trees. Big B is stepping it up.
They are.
Yes,
absolutely, Coach.
Yeah. It's good that it's right across the street from our offices here in Defiance Hall, and head on over there and pick up an amazing beverage of your choice, pastries, breakfast sandwiches, you name it, they've got it all over there, and we're fortunate that they support us in this particular podcast. Today, Lynn and I, we're going to talk about last week's Bluffton game and the Battle of the Hammer.
Absolutely, Coach. Big win. Has to feel a little better.
Yeah,
this week.
Shoot, man, it feels great. I mean, what an opportunity we had ahead of us, and we took advantage of it. I mean, this baby here.
That's a little different than most of the alums know about, because it was a plastic one back in the day.
Was it really?
Yeah, it wasn't.
Well, here it is for those on YouTube. This is the hammer. It has Defiance College on one side. It's got the hated Bluffton Beavers on the other side, and to the winner go the spoils, and that's what you got. Yeah. So we got that at the end, and we feel fortunate. They had a very a good game plan against us. We had a good game plan against them, and I think all in all, it was just one of those deals where it was a battle that went to the wire, and it was enjoyable for our players to come out and have a good time on that side with so many fans at the game. That was awesome.
Yeah. Put into words the emotions once the game was over, having a lot of alumni back, good fan base there. Put that into words, Coach.
Well, I think I saw there was, as the game was going on, that more and more people were showing up at the game. So I don't know if they were tailgating or getting warm, and I think it was at halftime, it was 0-0, so it's the best half we played as a team on all three sides of the ball. We did some really good things there, and then to be able to pull that off and see the alumni, you get a guy like Nate Schoblin, All-American linebacker, there with his son, and his son's wearing his jersey, and you've got former players, from last year that were there, and then other guys that I've met along the way, that were there to storm the field, and that was really cool. There's a couple hundred people storming the field after the final gun had sounded off, and it was I don't know. I think for a lot of our fans, it was very emotional. For our players, it was emotional. It was emotional for guys that played a year ago on this team, because there was quite a few of last year's team that were there, and I think that made it even more special. And even for the next 3 days, I had been getting emails from people, like that, some that I've never met before, text messages. They just started blowing up right after the game, and just a whole lot of congratulations by people that really follow that rivalry. And so I loved it. I thought it was great. And now we just have to bring that energy into the off season and play that way, every game next year, and just bring it.
I'm sure super happy for your seniors, Coach, for them to go out, what they went through in their careers here, to go out in that fashion.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, you see those guys that have gone through so much, and they stayed the course. Their roles may have changed over the last over this season, as some played more, some played a different role, and I think all in all for them, I mean, it was all week long. We built it up as like, hey, We may only have a third of the seniors that Bluffton has, but our guys are just as important.
Yeah.
So I think our guys played for the seniors, and just all in all, just played hard for 4 quarters.
And I know the concern was your kids may not understand, being so young, what this rivalry meant.
Mm-hmm.
How quickly did you realize that they were playing for the seniors, playing for the program, and kind of how much it meant for Defiance College, Coach?
Well, I think all along they were getting that. Oh, okay, this is a game that could correlate to what they were dealing with when they were in high school. Because I mean, you look at it, it's like, look, I think they might have started 2 or 3 freshmen. I mean, we played 16, 17 freshmen. Okay, so that's the difference in this deal. So to get them to understand is like we were not like ranting and raving all week. We were just appealing to them more intellectually than anything else, because we knew that at some point the switch would have to turn on. And hopefully it was this game, and not next year's Bluffton game. You'd like for that to happen, but Bluffton actually helped us with that, and in the pregame, it was a little bit different. So I think our guys woke up when they saw some things that they're like, what is going on? And I think when that happens, they woke up some young guys and some older guys that had a chip on their shoulder, and they decided they wanted to play a clean game and play hard, and they weren't going to fall into the trap of what sometimes a rivalry game does.
Right. I know we were sitting in your office last week after we taped last week's podcast, and you said we're going to do something new. And then I think Tuesday I saw you again, and you would watch the tape of the 2016 game when Cody Wilson kind of did the exact same thing with the offense that you did, Wildcat.
Yeah, and I never knew it when
Terry
I told
Geiger,
you.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable. I mean, I think I told you that Monday. I said, hey, we're gonna. Right now, we don't have the ability to throw the football, because you saw the week before you go 0-9, you throw for 5 yards in the first half, in the previous game, and you're like, geez, we got to do something else. So in essence, on that Sunday and Monday, we just created a whole new offense, a Wildcat-oriented offense, and put Terry Geiger in there. And then when I told you this, obviously we're always speaking in confidence. I mean, because it's pretty evident that Bluffton had no idea we were going to do it. But you had mentioned that particular game, and I did go back into the vault, and Tyler Boland pulled it up for me. And I watched, I said, oh, wow. Well, and that was part of what they did that particular year, and it did catch them off guard. I mean, we kept it quiet. We came out in warm-ups and ran the same offense we had been running all year. And then we came out and we started off with a trick play and went for 22 yards. And then, Jason Santora caught that pass. Had Terry thrown that thing on the money, he'd still be running. But he floated it up there a little bit, and we caught it anyway. So it was great to see Jason make that catch. And so I think that initially was threw a bit of a shock wave out there. And what was interesting is we weren't going to throw the ball a lot, period. But when you come out the first play and you got a razzle-dazzle, reverse-looking pass, it set a tone, I believe, with their defense, okay, they're going to do something different, and they're going to throw the ball. Because it's whatever you do early in the game, people get locked into it. But as soon as that was over, it was pound the rock. Just keep running the ball. And our goal in this game was basically to win the time of possession significantly and punt the football. Just punt and then play field position and see if we could get a field goal, see if we could get, our guys to go back and forth and play well. And in the end, that was the strategy, and it worked.
Yeah. When did you start with that kind of offense? Was it Monday of last week? Was
Monday.
That the first that you had ran anything like that all year?
Monday, yeah. We have never been in any 2 or 3 back formations, and that's the first time first time we even practiced it with our players. So we did it in a it was almost when I tell coaching friends this, they're almost in a state of like shock. They're like, "How did you do this?" So all we did is we practiced about an hour every day. So we didn't have long practices. And at the beginning of the week, we literally drew up the cards like you do a scout team. This is the play we're going to run. And we developed an offensive system that was like, if we're on the left hash, we're going to run this play. If we're on the right hash, we're going to run this play. And everything was based off of hash marks. So when we would run, like, for instance, the power play, okay, so that's when you're pulling one lineman or the H-back, and he's getting up on a linebacker, and then the quarterback is, reading this deal and heading downfield with the super back. So we only ran it we only practiced it to the right. We could not run that same play to the left. Because our thought was we have very little time. So certain plays only went to the right, certain plays only went to the left. And that was the plan that we had built up. And we practiced it on cards Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday we started just telling them the play, and then they would have to do it by memory, and it didn't go great. And then Thursday we did it again after having more meetings with them. We put them on the chalkboard. Hey, do you know what you're doing? And then after Thursday I was like, okay, not bad. It's starting to come together. And then we walked through on Friday and said, this is it. We did not even practice our regular offense. And I know some of my coaches were like, are you sure you don't want to practice what we've done all year? I said, you got to be all in, one way or the other.
Right.
I mean, sink or swim. Just do this because we want to play a game of field position and slow the game down and have a chance in the fourth quarter. Yeah. And we did.
Yeah. Was there ever a point Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, kind of before it started clicking, that you're like talking with your coaches and saying, hey, Maybe this was a mistake the way it was kind of going in practice?
I have assistant coaches that were thinking that, and it's fine. They bring it up to me in an offensive meeting, and I said, Coach, are we going to practice throwing the ball? Nope, we're not going to do that. Because the thing is, you've got to if we waver, then the players are going to waver. The only way that game plan was going to work is we had to keep executing it, and our defensive players who were giving us a look unit, they had to feel confident, like, hey, this is what we're going to do. Because I know, talking to Javon, he was like, dang, I don't know how I would stop this, because it was so different than what we were doing. And he was like, we're trying to figure out how to game plan this zone read scheme and all these different things. It's like, I'm glad we don't have to face it, and we knew we had the element of surprise. And the deal was just get first downs and just burn the clock all game long, and that's what happened.
Plus 10 in time of possession.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean,
unheard of.
Well, it's not just unheard of. It's one thing when you look at 10 minutes time of possession, but it's another thing to realize we both had basically the same number of plays.
Right.
We were like within 2 or 3 plays of each other. So it's like they ran the same number of plays as we did, and we just kept burning it down. And I think that the touchdown drive it was at the beginning of the fourth quarter is what ultimately broke their back. I mean, it put us up 10-0, and it was about 7.5 minute drive, 13 consecutive runs.
Yeah,
we just kept running, and just pounding them, and it was like, okay, let's go do this. And I thought, Terry Geiger did a fantastic job assuming that role, because he'd never done that before.
Right.
Yeah. And he carried the ball well. He made good decisions. And then, you look at our backs. I mean, and a guy that I am like very impressed with, Justin Caballero. I mean, Justin blocked. And he took the role and was enthusiastic about it. We'd come over to the sideline and said, Coach, just let me keep blocking these guys. I can get them. And he was. I mean, we would run power and pull him, instead of a lineman. And he'd get up on the backer and he would level him. And it was like, okay. And Justin's a sophomore. I mean, he's still learning,
Right.
And
a lot of young guys with the ball in their hands.
Well, yeah,
it's been that way all year.
Yeah,
but.
Beckford. Brandon was like lights out. He scored the touchdown. There, and then Machari Bigham was like, whoa. I mean, he bust through on a couple plays. It's like, I haven't seen speed like that since I've been here. I mean, and we knew he was there. Now, he used to play defense, and at the end of the game, he played on defense, and he played both ways. So, see him break through and have a burst where, in the past, which isn't a long pass, it's last year, and this year, we would get through and get caught or something. This guy, he'd break through, and where a linebacker should make the tackle, he would get a 20-yard gain on something. He would do something that to me was spectacular because we just haven't seen that since we've been here. Yeah. That kind of just pure speed. And he's a slight built guy, but tough. He's tough.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about the offense. Talked about what Coach Jovan Johnson did with the defense again, and what was your plan there, and kind of what did you expect with Bluffton on Saturday?
I expected we would play well. One, because they were down. Remember, it's the last game of the season. It's a war of attrition. They were losing a lot of guys to injuries. So when you start looking at it and I start seeing, who's playing on offense, like, okay, we got a shot. And even their back, who's pretty good, was always banged up. So all I knew is if we played hard and primarily the defensive line could come and attack, and we had a really nice rotation going in. So we were fresh. We were teeing off on him. Damon Thomas, again, had another fantastic day. I know his family was out here from San Diego, which is pretty cool. And they were looking at Damon like, why do you love it here so much? But because it just came from San Diego, And his mom just said, hey, he's enjoying it so much being up here.
Right.
So I think the plan was to get after their young quarterback, because it's hard to win with a freshman quarterback. I don't care that they did beat Anderson in Manchester, a couple weeks prior with him, but I think that makes it very difficult if you can get pressure on him. Mm-hmm. So that's what we did, and I think they were a bit more predictable. Not a bit. They were very predictable. I mean, to the point where in the box, Jeremy Taylor's up there, the good doctor, and he's talking, he's like literally calling out their plays before they do it. And there were, what did he tell me? He goes, there were Bluffton fans up outside of the press box saying, they're stealing the signals. How can they know the plays? It was just analytics. He was looking at the chart, calling the play before they called it. We don't look at signals. We don't care. I mean that if you're spending, by the time you figure a signal out and then get the communication down to your team, it's too late. This isn't the NFL. I mean, we're not lip reading or any of that kind of stuff. It's not what we do.
Yeah.
So I thought the game plan was fantastic. And I commend our guys on defense for executing it. But the unsung heroes in this deal, and a lot of people don't realize this, in that particular game plan, it was, like we mentioned, slow the game down. Make sure the defense, every day they were getting quality looks. And, the offensive line, and we had the backup defense playing offensive line. We were making sure the defense saw what they were going to see on Saturday. And I think when you get good looks and guys are playing their role on the scout team, then you have a chance to execute on that particular Saturday. And I think we just started getting to a point where they understand this is how a scout team's supposed to look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You get up 10-0 and they answered right away.
Yeah, it was a fluke.
Yeah.
It really was. I personally totally respect what Coach Krebs and those guys are doing at Bluffton. I think they have significant amount of talent over there, and we slipped up a little bit, and they made an explosive play.
Right.
It's really all it was. It was just a play, because all game long, most of the game, our defensive backs are doing a fantastic job of covering their receivers, and I thought we brought great zone pressure. And when you do that, occasionally you'll get one, and they did. But I didn't think that at any point that it was like they didn't do. They had no drives where their offense did to our defense what we did against them on that 7.5 minute drive, where it was literally you could just see their sideline, their fans, which they did. They brought a lot of fans.
Yes.
It's pretty cool. And it was just, it was quiet. It was deflated. You could just see the energy go out as we're just getting 5, 6, 7, just pounding the ball against them. And that's, that's an old philosophy that, a few old time coaches used to do. They'd come out in the second half and say, we're going to impose our will. And we're going to do it, and we're not going to throw the ball. We're just going to run the ball. And at the beginning of the drive, that's what I told the kids on offense. We are going to start this. We're 70 yards away, and we're going to run the ball every play.
Yeah.
And our guys just rolled up their sleeves and got to work.
Offensive line guys coach and what they did. Speak of that.
Yeah, I mean, that group, you've got 4 guys that will be returning next year. We only had 1 senior that was on that unit. So, I mean, that's remarkable, knowing that 3 of them are freshmen, 1's a sophomore. If they make the gains in the offseason they need to make, then we should be in a pretty formidable situation as we get into conference play next year, which is that's what matters. We're going to keep working it. But they did a nice job. Coach Shank did a good job, just because Coach Shank was basically the lead on, I came up with the plays, and then I handed it over to him and the rest of the coaching staff, and those guys got it all polished up well enough to execute something like that.
Yeah. I know we've said in here a lot this season and lamented about the special teams.
Yeah.
But that group, too, on Saturday played a huge role for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, they blocked 2 field goals.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, that was what's the difference in the game?
Right.
It was, and I think our guys did a better job when we punted. Great. I mean, we did. We
got
punted.
The fumble recovery.
Yes.
In the final minute.
Yeah, Jordan Ambrose gets, and there's another freshman who's he reps with the quarterbacks. He's a young kid that we went down and covered it, and bam, we won. I mean, that was it. And I know they had to be pretty frustrated that they made the decision to try to field that deal, because they
had good field position without trying to field it. Yeah.
And that happens. It's happened to us. I mean, a guy tries to be a hero and not think about what it is he needs to do, and that'll hurt you. You just have to play smart football, and it's tough because it's because of the rivalry of it all. I think kids want to make plays, so I can't necessarily fault him. It just wasn't the best time to do it, because that was the only shot they were going to have if they had done something there.
Yeah. Put into perspective how much maybe this team improved from August to Saturday, and maybe even going back to last year when you got here in the state of the program.
It's you can look at different things and attribute it to different things. That's what I say. It's our defense improved toward the end of the year, and without question they did when you look at the statistical side of it. But their statistics are often they're funny. It's because we improved statistically even in the second half of the season, but I was going for it on 4th down, and if we didn't get it, they had a short field. So if they scored, it was only a 40-yard drive instead of an 80-yard drive. So yardage is, some of that is just, I did it by design. It's look, if I'd rather them, I don't want them marching down the field on our defense. And then as we started to get more confidence and we made a change in our philosophy on defense and started playing some guys that maybe playing guys more that weren't getting a look earlier in the year, that's when it came out. A guy like Michael Myers, I mean, geez. Mm-hmm. I mean, wow. I mean, he made some great plays out there at corner. And, you see a guy like that, and it's sort of interesting because his high school coach was I coached him at Winnipeg. He and Javon were on the same team, Fred Reed. Fred is one of the all-time leading rushers. I think he might be number 2 at Mississippi State. And he was a great – he broke the CFL record when I was up at Winnipeg. And he called us, say, hey, I got a guy. And that was way back in January last year when I was at the convention. He's telling me about him, and I hadn't hired Javon at that point. And then next thing you know, here he comes, and he's a little undersized but tough. I mean, just tough. And easy to coach. And these guys, they've taken, probably that's the biggest thing when you talk about the improvement, is the improvement right now is that our players have at least opened their mind to be in a position to learn from some really good football coaches. And I think sometimes you come in and you think you know everything. It could be a coach, it could be a player, it could be anything. But as soon as you come in with that mindset of like, I'm here to learn and get better, that's what happened. Mm-hmm. It was an unselfish mentality, which that is at least the beginning of what I believe will be the turnaround here is when you're willing to be taught.
Yeah, we're going to get in more depth in the off season and kind of what's ahead for the program next week in a podcast, Coach. But what is important right now moving forward this off season?
Yeah, I think right now moving forward is to build upon that game on Saturday from a mindset more than anything else. So they understand, like, hey, when you got here, you didn't know what you didn't know. Now we will strategically remind them of how far they've come and how far they've yet to go. Because we have, I look at this deal and it's rather fascinating. The season's over and we're talking mid-November, right? So you basically got, they're going to go into finals soon, holidays, they come back. There's almost like 2 months off that they have. Mm-hmm. So there's 2 months. And then school's done in May, so they're off May, June, July. That's another 3 months. So you have 4 to 5 months where it's on them. It's on their leadership of themselves as players. So what I noticed as last year, because we learn as we go along, is we did not make gains from the Bluffton game last year to when they came back in January. We just didn't. We gave guys opportunities. We had a very small group that could lift with us. It was in the teens, 15, 16 guys, and that was it. So we know that's all you've got, and they're not doing much. And then you get them in January, and they start making gains in the weight program for a couple months. And we couldn't have spring ball because you don't have enough guys to practice. So we lost all that. And we made all these gains in the weight room over a 2-month period, but then they were off for 3 months, and it's like, you're also playing for 3 months. So you're playing for 3 months and you got another 5 months. That's 8 of 12 months that you are either playing or you're off, not under our influence. That's scary because we had guys that in the summer of those 16, 18 guys that were coming back that did not get stronger, that did not get faster, that did not do what it really takes to compete. And that's how you lose games 80-6. That's how you get in a position where people just steamroll you because you don't have enough lead in your pencil to hit somebody. And that's the difficulty. So that is what, when we meet with the players, they got to understand. It's like, listen, you have a choice right now. You're in a race between us and Capital University, who is our first game next year on September 5th. How hard do you want to work today, knowing those 5 months where you're in control of your conditioning, of your work ethic, of your discipline? Whoever handles it best in those 5 months will play well when it comes September. So that's really, it's the mindset more than anything else, because they can go in and do the work, but it's at what level are you doing the work? When you leave the workout, is it a 10? Did you spend it all in the weight room? Did you give it all you had? Or did you just do what was on the sheet that said, I should do this workout? And that's the difference between an okay team and a championship team. And we came here to win championships, so we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. We'll get into that next week and more in depth. And congrats on bringing the hammer back to Defiance. And I know a lot of people are proud of what you guys have done this season and looking forward to the future, Coach.
Well, we're looking forward to it, and it'll be fun. We'll let everybody out there know where we're headed next week into the off season. It'll be a lot of fun to talk about that. And I'm fired up. Hey, it's Ohio high school playoff time.
It is.
Yeah, and there's some good local teams that are making a nice run right now.
Yeah, still have 4 of them.
Yeah. So what 4 do we have in at this point?
We have Lipsick and Patrick Henry will play. Ottawa Glandorf plays Clyde, and then Archibald plays a very good Anna team.
Yeah, I heard Anna's
loaded. Yes, they're good.
Yeah,
yes,
that'll be fun. I look forward to attending those games and recruiting guys from this whole region, and then we're also going to be leaving the state and getting the best players we can from Ohio and getting them with guys of the proper mindset that want to leave here with a championship ring on their hand.
Perfect.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks so much again, Lynn. And we appreciate everybody out there following this Swarm and Shoot football show. If you're listening to this podcast, make sure to subscribe in iTunes, give us a rating, and comment on the show. If you're watching this on YouTube and you were fortunate enough to see this hammer, all right, we want you to subscribe on that YouTube channel. Hit that bell up in the right corner, and you'll get notifications every time a new podcast comes out. Feel free to comment below on this specific show. Thanks again, and look forward to talking to everybody next week.